Because you don't look nervous at all.
How do I see your play? How do you see the play?
Really? Because you look like you're ready to go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, were you able to sleep last night, or were you up all night thinking about the big night and the red carpet and the awards?
I was able to,
We thought of, we
sleep.
talked about over the weekend also doing a film
Were you able to
festival at the
sleep?
next convention too.
I was on the airplane.
You're on the airplane. I'm sorry, all these globetrotters. Why do I keep assuming that everybody's here in Nashville? Where did you come from?
Somewhat,
I
yes.
can fly.
LA, one of my favorite cities. Was it warmer out there? Because, oh my goodness, it's freezing here in Nashville all of a sudden.
Yeah,
So I need to live out there, right?
right.
This will be the last time I
You
show
look
up in
so
a
stylish.
convention
I
without
hope you're
my
having
cards.
this wonderful time. I'm going to be rooting for you with your presentation.
Sponsors, wasn't that a great red carpet event that we had? And without their support, we wouldn't be able to put on this event each year. The honorees today are shining examples of what the ARC represents. Their accomplishments are diverse and meaningful. Most importantly, their work embodies what inclusion truly means. We are lucky not only to be in their presence, but also to hear from each of them, to hear their stories. Our hope is that today you will learn, you will be inspired, but most importantly, you will leave feeling invigorated by this catalyst for change and what they have to say. It brings me great joy to be the first to congratulate all of today's award winners. But before our program begins tonight, I'm excited to announce a new and exciting partnership for the ARC that could have happened only here in Nashville. Thanks to an amazing woman who I see in the audience, I want her to raise her hand, Carolyn Nafee, who is the executive director of Our Place right here in Nashville. And I have to tell you, it's responsible for the Friendship House where my son lives. I was able to meet our next guest, Katie Cook and Adam Schoenfeld, who are also known as the duet Suncat. I have to go off script a little bit and tell you when they brought their idea and talked to Carolyn, they knew they wanted to do something that benefited people with disabilities. Carolyn, being the giving and caring person that she is, said, you need a national organization for this, and I know just the organization for you. And we're also happy that organization is the ARC. So many of you know already, Katie is internationally known as a TV personality, and she currently hosts Country Music Television's CMT Insider. So many of you got to see her outside. She can also be seen on the red carpet interviewing some of the biggest names in country music and Hollywood. I told her it was a little bit intimidating for me to be introducing her. She does this professionally all over the world. Some of you might even recognize her from the hit show, Nashville. Several of you have asked about Nashville. Sadly, it's no longer on the air, but she was also on Nashville. She is also a very talented singer and songwriter. Katie's husband, Adam, is a professional guitarist, songwriter, and producer playing with some of the biggest names in country music. He has been featured in over 200 albums. He's written songs for artists ranging from Faith Hill to Big and Rich, and has been nominated multiple times for American Country Music's Guitarist of the Year Award. During his career, he's played guitar on over 30 Billboard #1 songs, and in his spare time, he also tours with Tim McGraw. Needless to say, yeah, can we clap for all of that? Like I said, nowhere but Nashville. Needless to say, Katie and Adam are a power couple. While both are musicians and celebrities in their own right, what many may that they share a passion for the ARC's mission. And they'll tell you the story much more eloquently than I can, but much of it is because of Katie's late sister, JoJo. And I have to tell you, when I met them with Carolyn in Dozen, which is a local bakery, and they told me the story and what they wanted to do, it was so powerful. And I knew that this is just the perfect partnership. So much so that they have decided to donate all the proceeds of their new song, Hey JoJo, to the ARC. They will also be debuting that song for us tonight, and I'm going to try to do this in my best Katie version. So now it is my pleasure to invite to the stage Suncat.
A little bit about my sister before we sing the song for you. My sister Joanne could light up a room. I swear, if she could walk in here right now, you'd see the light coming off of her. Always a huge smile on her face, always ready with a big hug. Now, like anyone with an IDD, of course she did face some challenges, but honestly, you would never know it. Talking to Joanne, she never complained about anything, and she had plenty to complain about, especially a lot of health issues over the years. But she was just this bundle of positivity. She wanted 3 things in life. She wanted a job, she wanted her own apartment, she wanted to live independently, and she wanted to find love. Well, I can tell you, she achieved all 3. She was a true success story. And she was happy with that. She never asked for anything else, ever, again. She was so satisfied with what life gave her. Now, we did lose Joanne earlier this year. She had a long battle with lung cancer. She was really only supposed to live a few weeks. That's what the doctors told us. By the time we found it was stage 4. She lived 5 years with that diagnosis and was really never stressed out. She was so, as my mother put it, in the moment, always, and just so positive. And a couple days after her service, she came to me in a dream. It was a beautiful dream. I was so glad to see her. And she was beaming that huge smile, and she seemed so healthy and happy. And I woke up just so relieved. And I immediately said to Adam, we have to write a song for JoJo. We got to call it Hey JoJo. And another one of her favorite phrases, especially when I would talk about Adam and how much I loved him, she'd say, what's not to love? That's one of her phrases, what's not to love? So between the title, Hey JoJo, and What's Not to Love, we kind of had the idea for the song. And honestly, it wrote itself in about an hour. And my father came over and sang background vocals. My brother was in town from England. He's a drummer, so he played drums on the track. So even though my sister wasn't with us, she was with us. She was bringing us all together again, just like she did in life. The song felt like a gift from Joanne, so we knew we had to find a way to make it a gift for others. So that's where we got the idea. And as Elise mentioned, we called Carolyn, who called Elise, who put us in touch with Sarah. Sarah Wall has been wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. And yeah, so that led us here tonight.
And I gotta say, this is probably the best crowd we're gonna ever play for.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so you can tell everybody you know to go on iTunes or Amazon.com, Amazon Music. There's some others I can't think of right now. And every dime from the download for the next year will go to the ARC.
Yeah, all of them. So
we'd like it to be more than 50, so tell everybody.
we
Let's
don't.
put a few zeros after that.
Exactly.
Let's get some money behind you guys. It's amazing what you do. So.
Yeah. So oh, and we made a video too, which is on YouTube. So we hope that you'll enjoy that. And without further ado, this is Hey JoJo.
Tell us where you go, girl. You're always in your own world. It's like your mind is somewhere in the clouds. Nobody understands you 'cause you smile like a damn fool. All by yourself, laughing out loud. got this world all figured out. Hey, Jojo, go on and take it slow. They should show you as well. What's not to love? What's not to love? Hey, Jojo. Hey, Jojo. Don't believe what you've heard. Special ain't a bad word. You see the world through magic eyes. Is it like a movie where all you see is beauty? Hey sister, you got it right. Hey Jojo, what they don't know, you got this world all figured out. Hey Jojo, come on and take it slow. Then you should show you as a glow. What's not to love? What's not to love? Hey Jojo. Hey Jojo. Hey Joe, I wanna spread it round the world. Hey Jojo, what they don't know, you got this world all figured out. Hey Jojo, go on and take it slow. They should show you as above. What's not to love? What's not to love? Hey Jojo, think you guys can sing that? Hey Jojo, a little loud. Hey Jojo.
You guys sound
So you're stuck with me, no singing, no dancing, but truly, it is a true pleasure and honor to be here once again with all of you. As I understand it, we've got about 800 or so folks. Comcast NBC Universal has been a proud sponsor of the Catalyst Awards since it began about 4 years ago. And frankly, it's been a wonderful, wonderful partnership that we've had with the ARC since about 2011. And I just wanted to say that we're really proud of the relationship that we have with Peter and Trudy, Sarah, and geez, Abe, Katie, I mean the entire team, on and on. And the work that we get to do with all of the local affiliates across the country, with our tech coaching centers and our learning labs, and the relationship that we have with you on Comcast Cares Day, it's just truly remarkable. I was saying earlier during the reception that I drank the Kool-Aid a long time ago, and I truly believe and I support all of the work that you do, the people that you are able to help, and the work that you do, the lives that you have changed, the work that we can do together, and the work that we will be able to do going forward. So thank you, everyone, for everything that you do. And I want to congratulate all of our honorees tonight for the Catalyst Awards. You're going to hear some really, really amazing stories with the award winners. Again, it's just a pleasure to be here. I want to thank, can we have one more round of applause for Suncat? If you think about it, and I had the chance to speak with Katie and Adam for a little bit prior to this event. Two genuinely just salt of the earth, genuinely nice people, and they've given us the gift of their love, their commitment, and JoJo's legacy will be the song and how it is going to help the Ark. So that's a pretty special gift, and they've shared it with us. They've chosen it to share with us. So thank you to Katie and Adam. And finally, I just really want to say that, you know, when, I guess after hearing that song, and when any of us have a tough day, and you know, when you think that it's been a long day, and gosh, what else could go wrong, or whatever it may be, maybe we start to think about that song and the smile that JoJo put in Katie and Adam's eyes, and how maybe JoJo can put a smile in our eyes. So I hope you have a great evening. Thank you again to all of the award winners. Congratulations, Fred, the other Fred, newly elected board chair, so thank you for your leadership. And Peter, thank you again for
Here. Okay, let's find my place. Okay, thank you, Fred. Comcast has been just an extraordinary partner with the Ark over the last years, and we really appreciate their lead sponsorship of the Catalyst Awards, their role as national media sponsor for the Ark, and the extraordinary work that they're doing with chapters of the Ark around the country. And their enduring support has really been instrumental to our success. Really very grateful to Fred and his team. I'd also like to take a moment just to acknowledge the Catalyst Awards Selection Committee. The committee is made up of members of the Ark's national staff, members of the board of directors, prior Catalyst Award winners, chapter leaders from the National Conference of Executives of the Ark. Everybody really has a great time working on this committee and getting to review many applications for a few awards, and we're really excited to be here with you again presenting the awards. Now, the vision behind the Catalyst Awards was to turn a national spotlight, or is to turn a national spotlight on individuals and organizations that are really catalysts for inclusion in the lives of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We seek to highlight organizations and individuals that are setting an example for what civil rights for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities look like when they're fully realized. The Catalyst Awards present an opportunity for us to find leaders in a variety of different fields outside the mainstream of the disability community who are really trailblazing to make the future more inclusive. This set of awards really isn't about the accomplishments of a single person or organization. It's about the collective achievements of a powerful movement when citizens band together to recognize the humanity of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their value and contribution in their communities. I'm really confident that everyone this evening will leave really feeling empowered by the stories that you're going to hear from these champions of inclusion. Now, our first award touches on a topic of great importance to the disability community, which is employment, or the lack thereof. We're facing an employment crisis in our nation, despite the fact that we have the lowest unemployment in however many years. That hasn't been true in the disability community, and they're, depending on the estimates you look at, they're anywhere between 65% and 85% of adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities who are not employed, despite the fact that many of them would like to be working. This year's honoree for National Employer of the Year is working to change that. Now, being in Nashville, we are thrilled to welcome 2 employees from Bridgestone Arena, home of the Nashville Predators, to present our first award.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Jeremy.
How's everyone doing tonight? Well, good evening and welcome to Nashville. My name is Jeremy Merriweather, and I'm the front of house coordinator for the Nashville Predators at Bridgestone Arena. Kevin, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, my name is Kevin Evans, and I'm a member of the Reader team of Bristol Arena, home for the Nashville Predators.
Thanks, Kevin. We are here tonight to present the Employer of the Year, an award that goes to a truly deserving organization who has become the leader in disability inclusion in the sports entertainment industry. But before we do so, I'd like to say a few words on why disability inclusion is important in the workplace and is also just good for business. In 2016, we worked with the ARC of Davidson County to hire Kevin here to a position with our Reader team, meaning that Kevin is amongst the first people to interact with staff or interact with our guests on any given game night.
I was at least
A little bit nervous.
I was at least no, wait a minute.
He was a little bit nervous. He's like,
I was a
no.
little bit nervous before my first Predators game. I was a fan of the Preds, but I had never had that a world be working at the stadium during games.
This might present a challenge to many folks out there, but Kevin was a natural. With his unparalleled energy and positivity, he really set the tone for our guests coming through the doors each night. With a little bit of support from his job coach and members of the staff, Kevin became a regular, and he was a valuable part of our team. It takes pride in making sure that the folks that come welcome and excited for every game day. People remember Kevin for his great hospitality, not his disability. But they also remember him for his positivity and his professionalism that he brings to the job each night. In this industry, every detail and front-facing interaction matters, and people like Kevin need to show up and provide his level of customer service are prominent. And as a supervisor and someone who has been in the sports entertainment industry for a long time, I can say that Kevin is not only an asset to our staff, but he is also helping to educate the attendees and coworkers about disability inclusion.
This year, Employer of the Year is the most successful brands in the sports entertainment industry. DV Levy is consistently finding ways to improve upon their customers' experience in constantly ranked among the best employee by Forbes magazine's. Okay.
Get a round of applause.
It's actually one of the main properties that AV runs constant for. Succession.
Sorry. He's doing great, isn't he, guys? Tonight, we're honoring Levy for their commitment to hiring people with disabilities. A very special mention in their hiring initiative at Barclays Center through the work they've done with our chapter in the New York City known as AHRC New York to place over 100 people with jobs since the center's opening 5 years ago. Each of these individuals hired are earning competitive salaries or in roles that best fits their skill sets and desires, just like they are co-workers without disabilities. Levy in Nashville, Levy, like the Nashville Predators. See, he's helping me out too here. Yeah, this is my teammate right here.
We're part of Nashville.
Yeah. Levy, like the Nashville Predators, saw the value and critical importance of hiring people with disabilities, not just because it was the right thing to do, because it was a smart thing to do. So please join Kevin and I in congratulating Levy Restaurants as this year's Employer of the Year, and please welcome Greg Costa to the stage.
Good evening. Thank you to the ARC chapter of Washington, D.C. and the AHRC chapter of New York City for having me do this. I am truly honored to be here as a representative of Levy Restaurants. You know, they talked about how the story started, and I can only go back to what I learned as an early young son with my four older brothers and my younger sister. And our parents taught us from an early age that with privilege comes responsibility. That mindset has allowed me to create a unique work-life balance as I am privileged in both areas. The honor and privilege was extended to me 30 years ago when my wife Deborah accepted me as her husband for who I was at that time, not who I had become, which is important, right? There was no evidence of who I would become today at that time 30 years ago, so I give her a lot of credit for that. She has been my inspiration to the constant volunteerism that making a difference in lives of people that she does not know. She does it on a daily basis everywhere she can. She taught her two children how to be compassionate and understanding, and that gift has given the two of them the foundation for their success today. They too know the responsibility of privilege, as their dad has the coolest job in the world. Right? My job, it's not really a job, but I haven't done the work in 20-some years, allows me to work with great organizations and meet great organizations like the AHRC and great people like Steve Tyler and Sean Lozada from the AHRC in New York City. Who knew that our 1-minute phone call conversation and subsequent introduction at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn in 2012 has led to an amazing relationship that Levy and the ARC have benefited from. It's a shared partnership with a mutual vision of supporting adults with getting them into the workplace and on track to get started. In a Borough Hall meeting,
everyone. I love meeting so many of you on the red carpet earlier. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, I'm a fashion model and disability rights advocate. I'm here this evening to present the Catalyst Award for Marketing Influencer of the Year to an organization who has been at the forefront of the fashion industry. Fashion industry inclusion revolution. Before I get to speaking on this year's award winner, I would like to take a moment to speak on my personal journey in the fashion industry as a differently abled individual and how important this organization's work has been in bringing disability and diversity to the foreground of fashion. For many, including myself, the love of oneself and one's own body does not come easily. Like many other young men and women today and over the course of history, I was raised in a culture that had preconceived notions of what was beautiful and what the ideal body looked like. I was diagnosed with cancer when I was 16, which required that I had my right leg amputated. On top of the fear of complications from the procedure was my fear of how people would perceive me afterwards. As time would tell, I did learn to love myself and challenge the very societal norms that had me down every single part of me. A year ago, I began my modeling career and have worked on campaigns for some of the most celebrated global fashion brands in the world, including Tommy Hilfiger, who's also being honored tonight. I have used my platform to advocate for more inclusion in diverse fashion industry, all while promoting the idea that beauty does not have a type, body size, skin tone, and encouraging women and girls everywhere to embrace who we are and celebrate our own version of what is beautiful. I'm delighted to present this award to this year's winner because we share the same mission and vision of breaking stereotypes and bringing disability and inclusion to the forefront of the fashion industry. The Runway of Dreams Foundation has been changing the industry from within, not just in increasing the visibility of people with disabilities, but also in assisting major fashion labels to create designs specifically for individuals with disabilities. They have been a true change agent and are continuing to push for the equal representation of disability in the fashion industry. If anyone was in the Runway of Dreams, they know Mindy Shire. The driving force and vision behind this amazing organization, Mindy is a parent of a child with a disability, a fashionista, obviously, and a force to be reckoned with. I am proud to present this award to Runway of Dreams Foundation and my friend Mindy Shire.
So much, Caxton, and clearly it takes a force to know a force. How about that for Mama? So I am a fashion designer by trade and the mom of 3 amazing kids. My middle child, Oliver, was born with a rare form of muscular dystrophy that made everyday tasks like dressing himself an enormous challenge. The one thing that I loved more than anything else was a source of aggravation, pain, and anxiety for him every day. So he wore sweatpants every single day, to school, to parties, probably in instances that it really wasn't appropriate to wear sweatpants, but it was the only way that my husband Greg and I would know that he would be able to go to the bathroom by himself, because he couldn't manage buttons and zippers and couldn't fit typical pants over his leg braces. And one day, when he was 8 years old, he came home and he said, "Mom, I want to wear jeans like everybody else gets to wear to school." And it was such an eye-opening, absolute kick in the gut moment that I had, that how in the world did I miss that? Here I am in the fashion industry, loving dressing every single day, which, by the way, I couldn't wait to wear this outfit, so thank you so much for that, too. That I missed that with him. I missed how critically important what you wear is to who you are as a person, as who you show yourself to be to the world. It's an identifier of your personality and everything that goes along with that. So that night, I ripped apart a pair of jeans. Any proper fashion designer would have been horrified by what I did, but when I showed Oliver my arts and crafts project the next day that allowed him to be able to wear those jeans with some peel and stick Velcro and some modifying of the legs so that they could go around his leg braces, it changed him. A single pair of jeans changed my 8-year-old son. And what that did was it opened my eyes to the fact that if Oliver was struggling with this, I couldn't imagine the millions and millions of other people out there that had the same issues and clothing challenges that we did. So I decided that maybe I was going to take my background and have a tiny, teeny little goal of changing the fashion industry. And I developed modifications that could be implemented into mainstream clothing. Because if we didn't go mainstream, and I designed a line that was just for people with disabilities, then really what was I saying? That people with disabilities can't wear the same things as everybody else? I was fortunate enough to get myself in front of the amazing brand Tommy Hilfiger that you're going to hear about in a little bit. And in 2016, we launched the first ever mainstream adaptive clothing line for kids. I am so honored to say that now here we are in 2018, and it has really taken flight. Other brands have come into the game. We are seeing a true change in the industry. And Runway of Dreams certainly won't stop until someday we don't have to have this conversation. That adaptive clothing is just simply the same as plus size, petites, maternity. It's just a different shaped body. And we deserve to wear the same thing that everybody else gets to wear. And we simply won't stop until that happens. So thank you so much for all of being here. And I just thank the ARC so much for honoring us, recognizing us, and supporting us as we share the same mission of the fact that we want to make life better while you live it. Thank you.
Which we passed overwhelmingly a few hours ago in this room. While I don't assume that all of you are familiar with this or other position statements, as those of us who spend a lot of time with the ARC, I know that statement is meaningful to many people in this room. But for Attorney Jack Robinson, these words form a belief that has driven his entire career. I spoke with Jack earlier this evening, and an attorney-to-attorney conversation, I could size an attorney up pretty quick. He's the real deal. I'll tell you, he is the real deal. Truth be told, these are more than words for him. These words bring to mind the countless children in our nation who endure discrimination in schools or are being denied access to education they deserve. Jack has dedicated his career to righting many wrongs as he can for these children and working to change systems to ensure the future of education for students with disabilities, to make sure their future is brighter. Jack is one of the premier special education lawyers in the country. Throughout his illustrious career, he has shown unwavering dedication to protecting the legal rights to a free, appropriate public education known by some of us lawyers as FAPE, for students with disabilities on the national and state levels. As a founding partner of his firm, Spies, Powers, and Robinson PC, Jack has spent his past several decades representing children with disabilities and their parents against educational marginalization and discrimination, student mistreatment and abuse in schools. Just last year, Jack represented Andrew F. before the United States Supreme Court in the IDA case, Andrew F. versus Douglas County School District. He won. The Andrew F. decision has been hailed as a landmark decision that transforms the educational rights of students with disabilities and empowers parents fighting for the civil rights of their children with disabilities. In a unanimous decision written by Chief Justice Roberts, the Supreme Court rejected the prevailing standard for what constitutes an appropriate education as not providing children with disabilities an education at all. A standard, the court said, that aimed so low that was tantamount to having children with disabilities sitting idly by, awaiting the time when they were old enough to drop out. In its place, the Supreme Court established a markedly more demanding standard that ensured all children with disabilities were provided an ambitious educational program in light of their unique circumstances and based on their individual potential. As Jack always does, he was simply standing up for the rights of his client. In this case, a young man with autism in his home state of Colorado. What he ended up doing was affirming educational rights for students with disabilities across the nation. For his tireless legal advocacy and steadfast dedication to inclusive education, it is my distinct pleasure to present Jack Robinson with our 2018 Catalyst Award for legal advocacy.
Well, thank you very much. I can't see anything out there, but everything's dark, which is probably better. Best speaker in the world. But I would like to thank the ARC USA for recognizing the importance of the Andrew F. case and the impact the Supreme Court's decision has had and will have for the educational rights of children with disabilities and the rights of parents. I also want to thank all of you and all of the incredibly hard work you do to be recognized by you all. You've dedicated your lives just given your heart and souls to fight for the rights and dignity of people with disabilities is certainly a highlight of my career. This case, the Andrew F. case, has been a 7-year battle. The school district drew a line in the sand on day one, dug in, and never gave an inch. We met with them. We went to mediation. We did everything we could to avoid a lawsuit, but they would not give an inch. When we started this case, the standard for an appropriate education, what a child with a disability was entitled to as far as an education goes in a public school, was little more than nothing. It was merely more than de minimis progress. The standard was established in a case that I had many years ago, and I felt responsible for it. I was devastated, and I was eager to remedy that travesty at all costs. Yet, it was Drew's parents who had the courage and perseverance to fight against the all-powerful school district, against all odds. And I applaud them for their determination. You know, the great thing about getting an award is you actually get to get up and publicly acknowledge the people that really made it happen. Credit for getting to the Supreme Court to take this case against all odds again really goes to Brian Wolfman of Georgetown Law School and Jeff Fisher of Stanford Law School. Two brilliant lawyers who came on board at the Supreme Court stage. This would not have happened without their involvement, that's for sure. This case would also not have happened but for the support of my partners, Jan Spies and Redmond Powers. We're a small civil litigation law firm in Denver, Colorado. When we started our firm 20-some-odd years ago, I was given the opportunity to do something different, to represent parents and children with disabilities. It's an important work, it's meaningful work. And Jan and Brendan recognize that. I appreciate that. Without their support, I could not have done this case. I could not do what I do. I would also like to thank Mike Breeskin. He is counsel for Advocacy Denver's Center for Special Education Law. He's one of your own. Mike is another brilliant attorney who I've had the remarkable good fortune of working with and learning from. Mike has dedicated the majority of his long career to fighting the rights of children with disabilities. He does this out of a passion, a pure passion for fighting a good fight. He has been my mentor and provides valuable perspective in an unbalanced and unfair and confounding area of the law. I'm incredibly grateful to my parents who are here. They have supported me in everything I've done, always with qualified love and encouragement. Finally, I'd like to recognize my wife, Janet. She has shared the struggle through thick and thick, from the crushing defeat in 2008 when Judge Neil Gorsuch in Thompson School District versus Luke P. established this merely more than de minimis educational standard, thereby eliminating essentially any right to any education for children under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. She was there through the ensuing inevitable defeats. On the heels of that tragic decision, she's always been positive, insightful, wise, and supportive. She always has my back. I'm thrilled that I can celebrate this award with her. Thank you very much.
Actors without disabilities to play the role of an individual with disabilities on stage or screen. Lindsay Ferrantino is helping change that in a big way. Lindsay wrote Amy and the Orphans, the first and only known Broadway or off-Broadway production to feature actors with intellectual and developmental disabilities in leading roles. Amy and the Orphans presented the national theater-going audience with a positive and powerful portrayal of an individual with Down syndrome in a leading role. The play also provides a positive message of social inclusion and serves as a message against segregation and institutionalization. Instead of us describing the play, we thought we'd share some thoughts from Lindsay and the stars of the show, Jamie Brewer and Edward Barbanel.
How do I feel on stage? I light up. My Aunt Amy had Down syndrome and was raised in a time in this country where my grandparents were encouraged to give her up to foster care. After her death, I was trying to write a play about my family's relationship with her.
This is a memoir to Lindsay's aunts. You see Lindsay's aunts through us. It's about how we deal with people who have different abilities.
The speech pattern is maybe a bit different than the characters in the play who don't have Down syndrome, and I first started by writing down everything I could remember that my aunt had said, and so that sort of helped formulate how I was thinking about the character. I felt that if I was going to include a character who had Down syndrome, it had to be played by someone with Down syndrome, but I didn't know how well an actor with Down syndrome could memorize lines or what that meant for the rehearsal process, and it turns out it means absolutely nothing different. Jamie was the first actor off book. She memorized her lines before anyone else. She's most prepared in rehearsal, participates just like anyone else does.
I'm not gonna flash your things.
We knew we had to have an understudy for Jamie, so I went back to the agent who had set me up with Jamie and Eddie Barbanel. He came and had prepared Romeo and Henry V and Puck and performed this perfect Shakespeare. So we came up with a solution to write a male version of the play. Audiences would see Amy and the Orphans versus Amy and the Orphans.
Having two different types of shows, but the storyline being the same, is truly incredible.
I think I want the audience to just be in the theater with someone with Down syndrome and listen to them.
The beginning, it starts off in like a hotel scene.
And listen to them in a way that maybe you wouldn't do in your daily life, and then hopefully you can take that outside of the theater to listen to them in a new way.
My monologue is the same thing as Jamie's monologue. The monologue teaches people to accept people who they are, not what they appear to be.
It's not about being a victim, and it's not about apologizing for their presence, but about just owning it and being joyful and sort of celebrating their life.
And every time I see a barrier, I break them in half. And that's what I want to see in this play. That barriers are broken and to accept people for who they are. This is the biggest opportunity of a lifetime.
It's a very empowering play that everybody needs to see.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the 2018 Entertainment Industry I'll say that, Excellence Award presented to Jamie Brewer and Edward Barbanel and Lindsay Ferrantino.
Amy, that we portray her real life. Amy and the Orphans has allowed the audiences to see a person with a plain and seeing a person with a disability playing the role of a real person with Down syndrome, which is Amy. It is such a strong, great feeling that the National Arc has recognized the positive portrayal in Amy and the Orphans. The Arc has always does so much to help improve lives of people with disabilities and continues to educate the public. And to that, I thank you. To all athletes out there, if you think it, dream it, and believe it, it may come true. So thank you, Arc, and everyone here for believing in me.
Good evening. I want to say thank you to the ARC and Sarah for giving me this prestigious award. This means so much to me. I thank Lindsay, the writer of Amy and the Orphans, for choosing me to play the role of Andy. Thank you, Jamie, for sharing this stage with you. I thank my agent, Gail Williamson, for the opportunity to be in this poignant play. I am grateful for my family's support in my acting endeavors. Amy and the Orphans raise awareness for people with disabilities and show the world that we can succeed and whatever we try to do. Performing the part of Andy has raised my self-esteem. It's been the best experience of my life. I achieved my dream.
A pleasure, and I'm an actor, a son, a brother, and I also have cerebral palsy. The first thing I find my disability doesn't, like so many other people with disabilities, I want to live as independently as I can, while my disability can make that challenging at times. It isn't stopping me.
For many individuals with disabilities, especially those with mobility challenges, getting dressed independently can be hard. Buttons, tight clothes, and other commonplace items can be barriers rather than fashion statements. Gavin, like so many kids like him, his age, care about fashion, and he likes to pick his own clothes. Not surprisingly, he doesn't want me or any other member of our family to have to dress him every day.
Today I put on my own shirt, and I think I look good. And I did things to their design and innovation of Tommy Hilfiger's adaptive line.
Last year, Tommy Hilfiger revolutionized the fashion industry by launching the Tommy Adaptive Collection, a line of clothing tailored to the needs of people with disabilities. More than just being the first mainstream fashion brand to design a clothing line specifically for people with disabilities, Tommy Hilfiger has relied upon advice and feedback from the disability community to create each design. Features like one-handed zippers, side seam openings, bungee cord closure systems, magnetic buttons were incorporated into the design of each piece to maximize comfort and ease of use for people like Gavin.
Tommy Hilfiger's adaptive line has been a game changer in the fashion industry, and the brand's commitment to disability inclusion, beginning at the very top with the company's founder, Tommy Hilfiger, serves as a cross-industry gold standard. I had the honor of starring in one of the campaigns titled This Clothing Line, and I'm excited to share with you all.
My advice is to remember that your disability is an honor, not a burden. It is the thing that makes you unique. It's the thing that makes you dope.
It's something that you don't have to hide.
Not everybody has the strength to fight with everyday things like getting dressed. It's about making everything easier for everybody.
I can do this.
Just have to rise up.
We just keep going. Like, get up on the board, keep going.
Keep going. And never give up.
Let people know what you dream about, because you never know who can help you in your journey.
My ability is stronger than my disability. I am unstoppable.
But shared a special message with us.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so honored Tommy Hilfiger is being recognized as the Corporate Advocate of the Year by the ARC. Being an inclusive and democratic brand has been our mission. With our Tommy Hilfiger Adaptive Collection, we've reinforced these values, and it makes us incredibly proud to be the pioneer of this movement in the fashion industry. I'd like to thank the ARC and the Catalyst Awards team for recognizing the strides we've made with Tommy Hilfiger Adaptive. Fashion can be a means to empower people, and we will continue to push the boundaries to make it accessible by all.
To be with you tonight to honor my esteemed colleague, fellow fighter for justice and friend, James Meadors. And I'm going to try not to cry. Many of you know me as part of the ARC's national staff, but I'm here tonight as a friend and a longtime admirer of a man whose life has had a deep impact on me and on the lives of so many others here tonight. For those of you who haven't had a chance to get to know James personally, you should know, first and foremost, that he is a force to be reckoned with. He is as passionate as he is kind, and he is willing to do whatever it takes when it comes to advocating for sexual assault survivors. I've had the pleasure of working with James for many years now. We first met in 1994 when I joined the ARC's national staff in Arlington, Texas, and at that time he was serving on the national board. I was immediately struck by James' deep compassion for people and his constant drive to want to do better. His vision, his hope, his faith in a better world is incredibly contagious. Both within our home state of Texas and nationally, James has earned a sterling reputation as an energetic, engaging, and bold leader and speaker. But what makes him especially memorable is his own transparency and his honesty. James bravely shares his story as a rape survivor and as a survivor of other types of sexual assault to help others better understand and cope with their own experiences, and to help survivors know that what happened to them is never their fault. He inspires and empowers others to share their stories as well as their ideas for solutions. This is creating a ripple effect of advocacy, openness, and healing within the ARC's network and beyond. While James has faithfully been advocating for people with disabilities for many years, it was this year that his advocacy efforts reached new heights when he was interviewed for the NPR series titled Abused and Betrayed. This series provided an in-depth look into the hidden epidemic of sexual violence of people with disabilities across our country. In the series, James shared his story and unapologetically shed a bright light, on the fact that both men and women with intellectual disability experience sexual violence at much higher rates than people without disabilities. This series resulted in a number of requests for speaking engagements and a follow-up story by NPR where James was interviewed while giving a keynote address for the ARC of New Jersey about sexual assault. Now, if you think for 1 minute that James has any intention of slowing down, you could not be more wrong. From training volunteers at Rape Crisis Center in San Antonio to being featured in a nationwide PSA created by the organization 1 in 6, which by the way has now more than 4 million views, to his position as president of Texas Advocates, a statewide self-advocacy group in Texas. It's clear that James is just getting started. And on a more personal note, long before the Me Too movement, James was already telling his truth. I would say at least 15 to 20 years. And not only did James find his own voice as a survivor, he helped me to find mine. And he is paving the way for countless other victims and survivors who have lived in the shadows of silence for far too long. So would you please give a passionate round of applause as I present this year's Self-Advocate of the Year award to my friend and advocate extraordinaire, James Meadors.
Before I start, I'm really humbled because whenever I talk about this issue, it's not my issue, it's the people we're supposed to help. because it's really true, because we are helping people to inspire to find their voice of them. I use the analogy often to Leanne. Lightning does hit twice, not twice, 3 or 4 times. Because as a survivor, it happened multiple times in my life. But I want to share my speech now. I want to start to, and I lost my spot again. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry guys, I'm real excited and nervous and anxious at the same time, sorry. I want to start by honoring those who never find their voices on this key issue by sexual assault and sexual harassment. I want to ask you to take for a moment of silence for those who have not found their voices yet, to encourage them and let them know we still share our love and support, and let them know they're not alone. Thank you. This December 6th will be 35 years ago I lost my mother, and one of the things I regret to tell her what happened to me. I felt like her and my father would not believe me as a person who'd been sexual assault and sexual harassment. My life is a part of a new movement, the new kind of who reaching out to help others to find their voices who've been heard that way. No human being should ever have to face what I face. In their life, one of the things I could do is to be there when a person say to you who has been hurt that way. You should take the time to hear them out and get them the help they needed to be able to recover from what happened to them. I also want to thank for those who give me a helping hand. I want to say thank you to my colleagues who taught me about self-advocacy skills in my early days. Before I came out about my sexual assault and my sexual harassment I faced in my life, I want to thank my friend John Goddard, who is here today. He's the local exec of the Ark of Tulsa. And also I want to thank Michelle Hoffman. She's not here, but she was part of the Ark of Tulsa when I took this journey as a self-advocate leader. To teach about advocacy skills, who also having a helping hand. To my friends Robin Cooper, Val Bradley, and also say thank you to my friends who live in Louisiana. I want to praise someone I met in 1994. I could get her back now. She's worked for the Ark since 1984. I want to thank her very much because, like I said, I never thought I think she tried to hide, guys. What do you think? I never thought lightning would hit twice on me. But I was a sexual assault victim more than twice in my life. I thank Leanne Davis, who's been a great supporter in my new mission to try to stop sexual assault and sexual harassment that people face in our local community. One of the things I want to challenge the Ark United States, hire a self-advocate who travel different chapters and provide services doing this type of services. I also want to say thank you to my friend Marcy Whiteman, who also there for me in spirit. I also want to thank the Ark of Baton Rouge I want to say thank you to the Ark of Baton Rouge for their support from my last assault in 2005. Because my friend Larry Meyer was there when I told that I need some help and assistance. I want to also thank you to my new friends this past year, like my friend Jennifer, my friend Tater, and I also want to thank Joe Shapiro from NPR, and also the 1 in 6 group. Because me and Leanne been trying to educate the 1 in 6 group so long, like over 2 years, we said we want to get people with intellectual disabilities to have a man with intellectual disabilities. Like Leanne said, we have 4 million people look at this, who let me share my story about sexual assault. To all the people I judge, I want to thank you to be in my life. I want to say thank you to my friends in San Antonio, to my friends Judith, and my friends to Scott and Candace and Jennifer. To my church family, who I wish I could bring them to join this big night event with me. With my local self-advocacy group, my local and statewide self-advocacy group, who've been being in my life, and also the Ark of Texas staff, who is a big supporter in my life. Last and not least, I wish I could tell my aunt and uncle how much I love them. They're still alive, but I just want to tell how much I love them. I love them very much in my heart and soul. I'm so glad they joined me through the big night in spirit to support me. I just want to thank someone else. To my big little brother, where are you? He's hiding from me. Oh. To my big little brother, Joe Meathers. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Joe. I keep that secret, that hurtful secret from the past. In closing, I'm sorry, I'm trying to be strong. I just wish my father could see me.